You know, I ask myself, which God must an African child pray to hear our cries? Must an African child cry tears of blood before his prayers are answered? Are you telling me that the ANC hates Julius Malema so much? They hate Jacob Zuma so much that they would rather go to bed with their enemy that has said multiple times that they want to kill the ANC. What is wrong with us Africans? When are we going to wake up from this nightmare? So you are telling me that Cyril Ramaphosa was inaugurated as the president of South Africa, but actually Helen Zille is the president, the true president of South Africa. Oh my God. Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
Black Heart, the Hustle Continua. 100% good quality t-shirts, made to inspire your goals and dreams. T-shirts are now available at an affordable price. Place your order now. 068-473-6908. Instagram at Black7576. Facebook page Black Heart.
There's a couple of things I want to say. Okay, kill the f***ing cat. Kill all the f***ing. That's all I've got to say. Kill the cats. Kill all the f***ing.
To be able to form a
What
government.
about the DA and the ANC?
No, we don't want to be in government with the ANC, and that's
So
precisely...
that is out of the question.
No, it's
That's-
precisely why we formed the Multiparty Charter. My job is to get the ANC out of government. I don't think we're going to solve the country's problems by having the same people who are responsible for the economic crisis, the social crisis, and the infrastructure crisis sitting around the table. We've got to change them, and that's why the Multiparty Charter has said we will not do deals with the ANC.
Peace in Pan-Africanism to all my African brothers and sisters from all around the world. Welcome back to King Said So. I'm your host, Kagiso Hlongwane Zinjiva. Mr. Easy Imali, enengi, and we're back at it again with another one. Hey, nyazbuza man. The whole day being is boozer today. Nyazbuza. How? How do ANC top officials sleep at night? What type of sleeping pills are they drinking? Because you can't tell me that they put their head on the pillow and they sleep. I don't believe that. You can't tell me, with all these events that are happening, with all the social media coverage, because believe you me, they watch our channels. Believe you me, we're no longer that into little channel with 2 subscribers. We are now 30,000 subscribers strong. And it's not only this channel. There's multiple other channels that are crying to say, ANC, what are you doing? We said this before they even got into any agreement with the government of national unity. We said it. They are not listening to us. Are these people really telling me that deep down in their hearts, they believe they are doing the right thing for Africans, for the country? They believe this is the best move that they could have done. Getting into a government of national unity, national confusion, signing an agreement that was not drafted by the ANC, signing an agreement that was drafted by Helen Zille and her party, the biggest party in South Africa. So with 40% did not draft the contract, the agreement, the memorandum of understanding. They did not draft it. Helen Zille drafted. This is what we have been submitted to. This is how low these people, this is how much they hate Jacob Zuma. That they could not swallow their pride and say, Msholozi, you were right. They could not. How do these people sleep at night? I'm asking, somebody answer me. How do you sleep at night? What are your wives saying? What are your children saying? What is your family members saying? What are you talking about behind closed doors? Are you proud of yourself, what you are doing to us as Africans? Are you proud of yourself, the ANC? I'm asking you.
You need the DA to rubber stamp every time that there's a deadlock. For there to be 60% consensus, you need the DA to rubber stamp that. Without their numbers, you can't have a legitimate decision that you say this is a result of sufficient consensus.
No, it is incorrect. Cabinet does not function on the basis outside the realm of the constitutional prescript. And the question of goodwill in terms of functioning and smooth functioning and putting together the GNU government, it means where there are contradictions and issues that need to be resolved will be resolved by sufficient consensus. And in this particular instance, it does not mean that in the normal functioning of cabinet, from the point of view of how the executive has to function, it ceases to operate. We are talking about a concession in relation to how you break a deadlock, should there be any, where decisions have got to be taken.
Okay, let's be practical as my last question, because I want us to be clear and understand you well here. If, as the government of the government of national unity, you're working on a statement, you're discussing what's happening in the Middle East, you believe as the ANC that you must characterize as cabinet what's happening in the Middle East as genocide. The Democratic Alliance, with their 20% in that cabinet, say we don't agree with that. That's a deadlock, right? So for you, for the president to come out and say this is an approved cabinet decision and I'm communicating it, when there has been a deadlock where the ANC says it's a genocide in the Middle East, the DA says it is not. Are you saying that even when the DA has said no with their 40%, the president can still come out and take that decision as sufficient and having been agreed by the collective, and it's still a legitimate decision that is reached to after consensus?
We are not talking about a negotiated political settlement here. We have long moved out of that. This is a GNU with special characteristics, in which we talk about the normal operation and functioning of government, which in itself is not hamstrung by the fact that for every cabinet memo and decision to be taken, it will at all material times be subjected to disagreement. So the question is, should that actually arise, determined by the number of political parties that are there that participate? We have then put the question of sufficient consensus to arrive at the decision.
I agree with you, which is why in the beginning I didn't say every single cabinet decision. Of course, let's say 80% or 90% of the times you guys are going to agree. But the reality is there are policy differences, which is why I'm using the national minimum wage for a reason. I'm using the war in the Middle East for a reason, because that's where you don't see eye to eye. So in that 1 or 5% where you have fundamental differences in policy, how do you deal with it? That's
the minimum wage cannot be reversed.
Yeah, but that's it. I'm saying, what if you want to increase it by 1 rand? The DA doesn't believe in that.
The question is, there is no party that has got the veto power within the government of national unity. So for us to agree, it means that we put a threshold not of a single party. You must understand the 60% how it operates. Start with 50%, which would have included, if it was a grand coalition, 2 parties. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we have broadened that, reflective of the parties that are in the National Assembly to participate in the GNU, you have then raised the threshold to 60%. So it means of those parties that participate, that will determine broadly a bigger decision that needs to be taken within government.
And you as the ANC with 40%, let's say you've got the IFP, the DA, the PAC, the Good Party, that still doesn't give you 50%, does it? You need the DA. That's the point I'm trying to make.
It might as well happen that the DA disagrees, but I'm saying it does not have the veto power from not saying the decision cannot be taken. The threshold of 60% is of all the parties which will be participating.
And I'm saying you don't have the threshold of 60%. Put the DA aside. Take you, IFP, PAC, Good Party, PA. You don't have 50%. There's not much you can do on your own. At the end of the day, you are going to need the DA, even if it's just 10 members of the DA. You're going to need them in order to deal with any deadlock that you may have.
My apologies for playing this embarrassment of a clip one more time to you guys. I hope it's the last time I'm playing it. What an embarrassment. Fikile Mbalula can just mumble rap. In hip hop we call it mumbling rap. That's mumble rap. You're saying things, but you're actually not saying anything. Fikile Mbalula, you went into an agreement for government of national confusion with the DA first and the IFP. I don't count the IFP. In this channel, I don't count the IFP. Yes, I wasted my time making a documentary about the IFP. YouTube blocked it. Twice, I edited it. Don't know what to do with these clips that I have now. It's almost an hour long. It's 52 minutes long. I don't know what to do. Fikile, you yourself as the ANC did not, you as the Secretary General, the weakest Secretary General in the history of the ANC, you did not draft the agreements between the other parties for the government of national confusion. You did not draft it and present it to other parties so that it can favor you more. Why? Because you are the so-called biggest party in South Africa. And remember, let me remind you, South Africans, we are going for a rerun. Let's allow these people to enjoy what they are doing now. They will be, Cyril Ramaphosa will be setting up cabinet. Cyril Ramaphosa will be setting up cabinet by the end of this week. Siyobona imihlolo. If you think now your head is spinning, you don't believe what the ANC has done, wait for Cyril Ramaphosa to announce his cabinet of ministers. Yobona umhlolo, man. You wouldn't believe. Your party is sisu. You wouldn't know which toilet, what to drink, which whiskey to what. You wouldn't know what to do with yourself after the announcement of cabinet. You are not ready, South Africans. You are not ready. Some of you will be getting hot flashes. When you look at the names, when you look at the list, it's not going to make sense. Then after that announcement of cabinet, you will still have Fikile Mbalula and the poor speaker of the ANC protecting the decisions of Cyril Ramaphosa. Sibuya pitina ma Africa antlek. What's wrong with us? King phoso ka rena. Re jileng antlek, re loile ke mang? Why re hlanya so mara? What is wrong with us Africans? No, I just want to know today. I want you guys, guys. Fikile Mbalula. Man, wake up, comrade. Wake up, comrade. Wake up, vuga. Look, we know you are a flip-flopper. We know you are loyal to the ANC. But you can't be this naive. You can't be this. Listen, you cannot protect Cyril Ramaphosa even when you are self-destructing yourself. You are killing your own legacy as Fikile Mbalula. Because we will speak about Cyril Ramaphosa, but then we will address the Secretary General of that time, and it will be your name we'll be talking about. You cannot tell me that you can sleep at night. Because, let me tell you, tonight, tomorrow, it will be hot. The DA will be on the ANC's neck, breathing on them, demanding, like, listen, we are in government of natural confusion. We need to know. We need to make inputs. We need to make inputs to the cabinet. Put this guy there. Put this guy there. The racist DA. Just listen to what Gogo Zille said.
I've written to Fikile Mbalula. I wish we'd been on together. I would have had a little bit of a debate with him. But I wrote him a letter yesterday. I got an acknowledgement of receipt. And basically I referred to clause 24. I said, you can't do this. And then I referred to clause 19, the sufficient consensus clause. So he says he'll get back to me, but I'm still waiting for that.
Okay, so when it comes to the constitution of government then, what happens if President Cyril Ramaphosa, for instance, gives the PA 1 or 2 ministries? Is that something that would dissatisfy you as a member of this government of national unity, given that you were not consulted about this party joining the GNU?
We have to be consulted about it. And in fact, it's crucially important to point out the clause on the cabinet. It says, that's clause 17, whilst recognizing the president's prerogative to appoint members of the executive, such appointments should be done in consultation with the leaders of the respective parties of the members considered for appointment. So he can't just let anybody come in. He's got to consult with us. And then he makes the appointments in consultation with the leaders of the parties who have been accepted for admission into the government of national unity.
How extensive do you expect those consultations to be? Should he come to the DA and say, I've got 3 ministerial positions for you, this, and then consult you? Or do you expect him to say, okay, how do I constitute this government? And you as the DA give your own thoughts on which ministry you think should go to which individual or which political party?
Well, first of all, he can't come along to say we're going to give you 3 ministries, because he has to look at clause 16. Now, clause 16 says that it's a bit of a word salad, clause 16, because it was changed so often backwards and forwards, but it currently says the government of national unity shall be constituted in a manner that reflects genuine inclusiveness of political parties that are party to the statement of intent and are represented in the National Assembly, broadly taking into account the number of seats parties have in the National Assembly and the need to advance the national interest. The President shall, in consulting the executive, take into account the electoral outcomes. Now, if he takes into account the electoral outcomes of the parties that have already been admitted into the government of national unity by the processes that we've spoken about here, that means whatever the size of the cabinet, we're entitled to 30% of the seats, and the ANC is entitled to 60% of the seats.
Okay.
So you can't say here, well, I'm giving you 3. It doesn't work that doesn't work that way.
All right, so it has to constitute about 30%, which is what you are holding in the government of national unity. In numbers, just help our viewers understand, just to be practical in numbers, how many ministries are we talking here, based on how cabinet, how the executive is constituted at the moment?
Well, we don't know how big the cabinet is going to be. We want to reduce the size of the cabinet. So, of course, when you talk about how many seats we're going to get in the cabinet, it depends on how big this cabinet is. But however big the cabinet is, we should get about 30%.
So when you say you want to reduce the cabinet, what's your suggestion or recommendation to the president? What do you want to reduce it to?
Well, we haven't had discussions on that particular issue within the Democratic Alliance, but we think the current cabinet is too big.
Okay, so, all right. So that's one of the recommendations I suppose you're going to make to the president as he consults you as a member of the GNU.
Correct.
Okay. Have you as the Democratic Alliance spoken about which ministries you think you can best serve in? I know you've already indicated that it makes sense for John Steenhuisen, for instance, to be the minister in the presidency. What else are you thinking about?
Well, you see, Clement, if I go and say so now, I'm not the leader of the DA, as you know, and our leader, John Steenhuisen, has to have discussions with the president. And it would be very wrong for me to preempt, to undercut him in that conversation. He has to have a free hand, and I don't want to give advance notice or anything like that. It would probably undermine John's ability to have the critical discussion that we need to have. So
the biggest words that I took from this, I don't care about clause 24, clause 17, clause 16, because clearly Gogo Zille has drafted this document. It's embarrassing that she knows this document better than Fikile Mbalula. Yeah, listen, we can say Fikile Mbalula did not finish matric. He's illiterate, can't read. That's not true. We know that. You don't have to go. You don't have to have a matric to read and understand information. And I'm sure this information this is not science. This is politics. This is what Fikile Mbalula does and the rest of his party. The biggest word I took here is when this racist white lady said, we are entitled to 30% of the cabinet. Yo! A 20% party is entitled to 30% of the cabinet. Entitled according to the agreement. The agreement, which agreement that the ANC has signed. ANC is trying to bring Gate and McKenzie in. The agreement says you cannot now. Just imagine, that is what I say about this term. If I'm going to marry many women, the first woman that must have a problem is my first wife. She's the one that can say, no, we can't take a second person. We can't. That's my wife. You understand? Number 2, number 3, no, number 4 can't tell me nothing. You come into the ANC. When other people want to come, you want to marry the ANC. When other people want to come, you want to say no. When the ANC did not say no to you. Am I making sense or ngiyakhuluma nje phela? Kwenzakalani? She does not want the PA. She says she was not consult. We must ANC. Good, right. We must consult you so that we can bring other people in. But this is still the government of national unity. But the people who first signed, the first 2 people that signed, are going to control, not even the first 2 people that signed, because the ANC is saying everyone is welcome. The DA is saying, no, you must do it in consultation with us. Can't just invite people here. What's wrong with you? You understand what I'm saying? What type of embarrassment is this? What's that on my head? What type of embarrassment is this? And okay, I'm going to speak about the PAC. Robert Subuk is probably rolling in his grave. The Pan-African Party of Azania. I said, they are there because they were sent by Jacob Zuma. Because I believe in the president of the PAC. I believe in that man. But I disagree with the move. Listen, the DA is going to do a good enough job, so much that you don't need an informant from inside of the government of national unity. You don't need to bother them. You remember 2018, was it 2018? Mmusi Maimane said something very profound. He said, we can no longer fight the ANC. The ANC is doing a good enough job fighting themselves from within. We no longer need to attack the ANC. They're doing a good job. They are exposing themselves. These two factions in the ANC are fighting and killing each other. Others are going to prison. Others are stepping down. Others are stepping aside. Others are doing this. They are doing a good job. So even with this government of national unity, we as South Africans, especially us who are following the politics of the left, we don't have to worry too much. It's not going to last long. If the courts, for some reason, because I don't see how the courts are going to turn the case of ignore the evidence that Mkhonto Wesizwe is going to bring to court. I don't see how they're going to ignore all the points, all the evidence that Mkhonto Wesizwe is going to bring for a rerun. But if they do, this government is not going to last. There are still two people that are angry. There are black people, African people, angry at the ANC for doing what they did. They are waiting now for the announcement of cabinet to take their decision if they want to follow the MK. Many of them, high-profile names, are already resigning from the ANC. You see, even councillors in KwaZulu-Natal that have said, no, I'm not going to be part of this. No, thank you. I'm not going to be part of this. I'm not going to be part of this. I'm going with MK. After the announcement of the cabinet, signatures will be flying all around, people resigning from the ANC membership, saying, no, this is absurd. We cannot be involved in this comedy show. It's becoming a comedy show now. Helen Zille. Why is Helen Zille doing all the media obligations right now? Where is that stupid boy who Steenhuisen? I know you just have a matric, but why are you allowing this woman to run around? Do you have balls, John Steenhuisen? Can you speak for yourself? Why is this woman? This woman is not the president of yes, she's the chair of federal whatever council of the DA, but you are the one that's supposed to be going around saying these things. Oh, but you are waiting to be deputy president of South Africa or be head of ministry the ministry of the presidency. Huh? Is that what you're waiting for before you can come out and talk? You're waiting for the announcement. You're still going in the background, making deals, paying people, bribing people. You're still doing all those things in the background, doing what you do best, undermining black people so that white people can come and rule. Yo nkosi yami. I want to speak about something about how any minister of the DA is going to find it difficult to run a that ministry. For example, the Ministry of Agriculture. If you give that one to the DA, the Ministry of Health, if you give that one to the DA, Ministry of Police, if you give that one to the DA, even of sports, even imagine the racism that is going to come back into play for sports. I'll speak about this on another video because this video will be then too long. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. Guys, I love you, man. You guys keep me up at night. You guys can't see the time because I'm not in my original studio, but what time is it now? 1 o'clock in the morning. But you guys know I enjoy working at night. So, hi guys, Asaz. Thank you so much for the support. Let's continue to support black movements. We as Africans need to wake up. Let's wait and listen what Mkhonto Wesizwe is going to say to us. Mkhonto Wesizwe, we can say whatever we want, is the only party right now that's totally making sense to Africans. Love my EFF. I love the EFF team. You guys know by now. You know that. King is an EFF guy. King voted for the EFF. You guys know that. Because I thought the EFF was gonna do better than that rubbish that we got. But anyway, let's listen to Mkhonto Wesizwe. Let's take out our political heads and put on our Pan-Africanism hats and say, which party is doing good for us as Africans? Which party is fighting for us? Answer that question, and then let's listen to what is going to happen to the MK. Every black person must be focusing on the moves of the MK party. Otherwise, we are doomed. We are doomed. I don't want to speak about the inauguration because you guys are not interested. But if you are interested, you'll go in the comment section, because there's something that is very interesting that happened there that most of you did not catch. In the beginning, in fact, I'll play out with a clip. In the beginning, Cyril Ramaphosa did not mention Jacob Zuma as a former president of this country. Let me play out with that. Until we meet next time, follow African Mojolo. New content is dropping there almost every day. Make sure that you subscribe also on that channel. Let's hit 1,000 subscribers, guys. That side also. Until we meet next time, don't forget to pray. After you pray, stand up, African child. Do your best so that God can do the rest. Peace in Pan-Africanism.
Program directors, Your Majesties, our kings and queens, Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, former President Thabo Mbeki and Mrs. Mbeki, former President Kgalema Motlanthe and Mrs. Motlanthe, former Deputy President David Mabuza, former Deputy President Baleka Mbete, former President Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka, all former heads of state and government assembled here, distinguished representatives of representative countries and all international organizations, the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chairperson and Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, the Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, and members of the judiciary, premiers, MECs, and mayors, members of parliament, leaders of political parties, religious and traditional leaders, ambassadors, and high commissioners, veterans of our struggle, distinguished guests, members of the military command, General Ruzani Mapwanya, General Fani Masemola, the Commissioner of Police, fellow South Africans. Today we gather under the vast high